All right. And hey, welcome back to the Gulf Coast Growth Show. This is our virtual edition. I'm Jason Lay, your host, and I am here today with Mr. Michael Richter from CMEF here in Houston. They are it's really the Construction, Maintenance, and Education Foundation or the educational arm of the Association of Builders and Contractors of Houston. So again, why CMEF and why Economic Alliance? I'll give you a quick understanding. So the Economic Alliance serves the entire Houston port region, refineries, anything up and down the ship channel that's involved with logistics, transportation, construction, economic development. And when you develop things, you build things. And when you maintain things and you fix things, you need people and craft workers to be able to do that. And so Michael's here today to tell us a little bit about not only his organization, but really how to be actively involved with his organization. One thing I oftentimes talk about with our guests and with individuals, is our show's commitment to not only educating you, but helping you understand how to be involved, how to make a difference. It's not about turning the lights on every day. It's about changing lives, impacting others, and letting your legacy be had through your business, through your employees, and through the change that you're making. And so Michael has that type of footprint in his organization. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. So Michael, again, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Glad to have you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So let's dive in real quick. So for those that are watching, maybe it's their first time hearing about CMEF, tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
All right, just a quick background. The Associated Builders and Contractors, we have the Greater Houston chapter. Going back to 1988, there's four things that would be a benefit to being a member of ABC, and that would be to get involved in politics and how it affects our industry, how to get involved to be better at safety and have a safe workforce, and also what's very important for a lot of people is networking. But the fourth part of that fourth bucket would be education and training for the crafts to upskill and attract new people into the industry. Well, back in 1988, that became such a huge issue because of where we're at. I mean, we're in the Greater Houston area, and you just covered a lot of things in your intro. All this activity we have up and down the coast, it's a big deal. So it became such a large demand as far as being a part of ABC that they decided to start a separate organization. It's a nonprofit, we're a 501c3, and this separate organization's sole duty is to focus on workforce development and upskilling and educating people to build a better skilled workforce. And that's what we do. We're primarily focused on just that alone, workforce development and craft training. And so to do that, we have a lot of different avenues that we use. We have a campus here in LaPorte. It's four facilities put together. We utilize our college friends, our partners, San Jacinto, Lee College, Lone Star, et cetera. And then also, last but not least, but we are in 66, well, currently that number goes up to 66, 62 high schools within a 50-mile radius of downtown to try to incorporate the curriculum in what I call shop class. You and I would probably remember the shop class.
Oh, yeah.
Try to bring that back. I say let's bring back and make shop class cool again, because when I was a kid, it was cool. I loved it. And so we're heavily involved in that and sponsoring their curriculum and making sure that we can give them guidance on what we're doing, what our mission is. So basically, in a nutshell, what we do is focus on the craft workers in the industry.
Yeah, I've been using the term lately. We got to make industry sexy, right? And so, and something about it has got to start to draw and allure people back. And I think we're going to get there. I think eventually people are going to start to gravitate back to the understanding. The next generation is going to start to see the fruits of that labor. When they start to see their friends who decided to jump in that industry, and they're still living home with mom, and then their friends buying their first house and driving an F-250, and they go, dude, how'd this happen? They're like, hey man, I got a job behind the gates, or I got a job at this company working in construction. So yeah, you're right. We got to make it cool, shop class cool. So I like that. I'm gonna start using that too. So Michael, so I know 2020 had to be tough. I think your business is predicated on bringing people together to educate, train, and develop these workers. And so knowing that there was a season last year where that wasn't possible, tell us a little bit about some of the adversity you guys faced, its overall impact in the organization. And then from that, let's talk about how you guys are kind of recovering and making up for lost time in 2021.
Okay. Well, yeah, obviously, last year, 2020, around March, the timeframe March, just like everybody else, we pretty much had to basically shut down and send everybody home. And it's not so much the staff, but it's the ones that are affected, which is our students. our clientele. We had to send them home, and we weren't really set up yet. We are now. We weren't set up yet to do any virtual training. And plus, in craft training, it's very difficult to do virtual training for everything. You have to have a hands-on component to that. So we had to do that. We had to send everybody home. But you know, the other thing to remember is half of our funding to keep us open and functioning is based on you know, donations from the contractor community, the contractors and the owners. And we do it based on the cents per work hour. So basically everybody that's contributing gives 6 cents per work hour on these sites, and they contribute that to CMEF. And we put that in what I call a big piggy bank, because not just for that company that gives the money and for their employees only, it goes into the piggy bank for everybody, for the entire workforce. So our training costs, when it comes to actually training students, 100% of that cost comes from that piggy bank. Well, last year, we weren't just the only ones affected and had to send everybody home. A lot of these plants were affected. A lot of construction sites were affected. Therefore, the work hours plummeted. They went down. So when the work hours go down, our funding goes down. So it went down quite a bit last year. I would say about 40% from the norm, it went down.
My gosh.
Which affected everything. Well, you know, you keep in mind that we also did send everybody home, and we had to skip a summer semester. So there was a cost savings, but it wasn't helping anybody. Everybody being at home and not, you know, getting trained up or not skilled was not helping at all. So there's a funding aspect that we were greatly affected by, and also the fact that we couldn't train. Now, come June, we tried to open back up. We had all these real strict rules and procedures in place. You had to stay 6 feet apart. When it came time to come to school, everybody had to stand in line and get their temperature checked. They had to answer a survey, a questionnaire. They had to keep their mask on the entire time, go to their class. We had to separate them in the classes. So if we had a classroom that was capable of seating 20 people, we could only seat 6 now. So that, again, affected everything because of the guidelines and slowly getting back. But we slowly got back, and fall, we continued to do that. And so moving forward, we're seeing a lot of these restrictions eased up, but there's still some things that are affecting us even deeply now in May in 2021. And again, back to the same things, funding and making sure we're safe.
Yeah, so I know we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel, I hope. So back to 2021, let's think about this. So typically you mentioned that there are, it's the work hours, it's a percentage of the work hours that's shaved off to help offset some of that gap. Has there been anybody step up to say, hey, we realize that you guys are hurting here. You're impactful to the organization. What things are being done, if any, to help, you know, kind of bridge that gap, right? Because you can't make up for lost work. You can't make up for lost hours. I'm sure there's a loss to people's pocketbooks at that extent. At the same time, being that you're a nonprofit, let's be clear, right? Like, you got to be able to go to work, and you know, we still need to craft employees. It's been probably a systemic issue for a very, very long period of time, and going to continue to be a systemic issue in construction. So help me understand what and if or anything is being done to help, you know, close some of the gap from the financials.
Well, one thing we're working on currently right now is, you know, our model, you know, before 2020 was basically just the work hour program, just those contractors that contributed, which meant that they're employed, they're working during the day. And so we would train at night. We'd have evening classes only. Well, moving forward, we realized, hey, we got all these things to offer the community. Why don't we expand our scope a little bit? And let's not just focus so much on night. And so now we've opened up our menu of training offerings during the day, but not just what we were doing as far as semester-based courses, because those are 16 weeks. That's a commitment. Mm-hmm. We've taken pieces and different slices of the curriculum and offered daytime specialty classes. So, for example, there's the crane operator, which is the butt in the seats crane operating program, which I call it. It's the only one in Greater Houston where we train in actual cranes. We have a customized welding program. We have any of our other crafts, pipe fitting, electrical, anything else, millwright, you name it. We can do smaller specialized courses, and now we offer those during the day. And the hope is, what we're starting to see is that people that are not affiliated with these companies, that may be unemployed, that may have other goals in mind, will come here during the day to get trained up. And also partnerships are always very, very important. And I will say that we have a great partnership with an organization across town called ACS, Adaptive Construction Solutions. What they are is they cater to apprenticeship programs, and they're able to get funding for apprenticeship programs. So what they do is they recruit and they screen these people to come in. they organize the funding, and then we'll become their training arm. And therefore, we have some funding coming in there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we're looking at several different ways to where we can generate some income to keep this boat rowing, keep moving forward. And in the meantime, I got to say our contractor community, even though the man hours have gone down, they have stepped up and helped us in different ways, because it's not always a check at the end of the day. It might be some consumables that we need for the shop. It might be some materials that we need. It might just be using their sound horn out in the industry to get more support for us. They're always great partners, especially in the high school level as well. Again, it's not just a paycheck. It's what other support we can get that's not in the form of dollars and cents. So
I love that. That actually helps me parlay in the next part of the question, which was, if I'm a contractor or if I'm listening to this, how do I make myself a valuable contributor to you guys? So you're starting to elaborate that, but let's take that and stretch it out a little bit. So what things are you seeing or contractors hears this and is inspired and says, man, I want to make a difference and help with craft employees or craft people to support my organization. Tell us what they need to do and how they can be of value. If it's not just stroking checks, what can be other ways?
Yeah, well, there's several ways. I mean, what I would say is starting with the obvious, the low-hanging fruit. We have two main committees that are here involved with CMEF. One's the CCYC, that's the Construction Careers Youth Committee. That one is focused all around the high schools, which again, when you get over 60-some high schools in 23 independent school districts, that's a big deal. They can come to that committee and they can learn all about what we have going on. And at the end of the day, they can get involved in supporting high schools. And I will say that support from the high schools, getting away from dollars and cents again, supporting high schools on a contract level really means showing up to the high school and letting those kids see that there's a place that they can go work. It's not just Michael Richter going to a high school and saying, hey, guys, go get that nice boat and get to work and get into construction. Well, they want to see what's the reality. But if I bring an actual contractor, a large contractor in there, and they can talk to these kids and say, hey, these are the openings I have on a regular basis. This is what you'll be doing. This is your career path if you come and join this industry. And just show them that support, that there's a place to go. So that's one committee. Our other committee is the ITC, that's the Industrial Training Committee. We're heavy industrial, although we are set up to do commercial training and have commercial programs as well. We are very heavily industrial. So that committee, the Industrial Training Committee, is all focused around what the needs of the industry are. Again, we supply the training, but we need industry to tell us what we're doing wrong, what we can do better, what the demand is out there. And I'll tell you what, that's very, very important, because without that piece, we just run a school and hope for the best. And so they come to the table and they talk about things besides actual training needs, as far as titles to a curriculum. They could talk about how it's delivered, where it's delivered. Maybe it's better to deliver it on a site with their support or some different way or different approach. But it's all about the upskilling of the workforce. So those are two primary ways on the low-hanging fruit part to get involved with CMEF. Other than that, what I like to just open the doors and invite any contractor or any owner that wants to come in here, come to my office and let's have a chat. Let me take you on a tour of our campus and just bombard me with questions. Let's have these conversations, because everyone's a little bit unique in how they see it and what they need from it. And so I like to go the old-fashioned route and just say, come on by, and let's have a cup of coffee and talk about the industry and what we do.
I love it. So as I'm listening to you say that, I'm thinking about the tour that we had to miss a few weeks ago, and that I still have on the docket to come out soon. So I'm excited to do that. And I guess the only thing that I'm wondering is when we get to tour, do we get to drive cranes? Because that'd be pretty cool.
I'll make a deal. I got 3 cranes on site. One of them's so big that I won't get in it, because okay. I'm afraid just to sit in the seat too high for me. You can have that, and then we have a partnership with NACB, and they've given us 3 crane simulators. And every time we have an event over here, we do in the other building over here, building number 2. It looks like you're walking into a little small video arcade, and everybody always track about where do I put the quarters in and so forth and so on. So you want to get in the real crane? Well, we got them. You want to get in the simulator? We got that too.
Man, I can't wait. So hear that. If you're listening and you want to know more about CMEF and simulate driving a crane, now's your chance. So that's a great segue. And so Michael, so the first time I saw you speak, I was sitting up there looking at you. You're like me. You're right. You're running around in the construction space and in that network, but suited and booted, kind of. That's what I say, right? We're kind of like we stick out like a sore thumb. I thought you were like me. I thought you were like a banker or money guy, because that's usually what we all look like. But then when you told me you ran this construction organization, so I'm scratching my head going. So do you tell us about your background? Are you a construction guy, or I mean, like what? How did you end up running an organization about construction education?
I love this story. I love it so much because it goes back to bringing shop class back, making shop class cool again. I was in middle school, just one of any other kids, and this is back when we had shop class, and I didn't want anything to do with it. My dad was a hard-working blue-collar guy, and I always thought I was going to go a different route. I wanted to have a job where I just, had the suit and tie from day one, never got involved and get my hands dirty. Well, a shop teacher made things really cool for me. He had the class hold a spark plug wire on an engine and had everybody hold hands around the whole table. And the last guy had to hold the base of the engine. And he put one tug on that engine and 10,000 volts went through every single one of us. And I was smitten by that day because I was impressed that we didn't die, first of all. And that's explained the whole thing and how it works. I was so into engines after that. So I went to a junkyard, bought an old lawnmower, rusted out, took it apart, rebuilt it, and made it run and mowed the grass with it. And after that was wood shop. And we built all these little things out of wood. Well, fast forward, talking about the boat and the cars and the benefits of having a good career. I was 13 years old and my family wasn't making money at all. So I started working for a family friend and he happened to be a plumber. And so I dug ditches and broke concrete for 3 years, all summer long and after school and on Saturdays and a lot of times on Sundays for 3 years. And then I realized, wait a minute, after 3 years, I can go take my journeyman license test in Austin, Texas. So I got upskilled for that and went and took it. At 16 years old, I had my journeyman license for plumbing. Then I realized if I held that and the state active for 1 year, regardless of my age, I could become a master licensed plumber in the state of Texas. So I went back 1 year later, passed my test with a 71%. I'll tell you that phone call, I was pretty 71%. I didn't care. I was a master licensed plumber. Within a year of running my own business at 17 years old, still in high school, mind you, driving a brand new Silverado truck with a neon light in the back and tinted headlights and the whole 9 yards.
Love it.
After that, I got bored, and so I wanted to learn the next trade. So I went on to learn electrical, framing, carpentry, all the trades except for HVAC. I didn't want anything to do with it, too hot, and roofing. After that, I moved to California. We talked about it a little while ago. I went to California, started a contracting firm out there. After about 3 years of that, California was too much. The rules out there are so different, and I didn't want anything to do with it. So I took a break, and I got a phone call one day about coming to work to teach an electrical class at this vocational college. So I taught that. Within 3 months, I was program chair and program director, and I just kind of dove into the whole construction and craft side of the education industry. So I was a contractor. That's my roots from being a very small kid at 13 years old, and all of a sudden I was in higher education teaching all the crafts.
I love it.
And from there, it just kind of kept going, and made my way back around to Houston. And the thing that got me in this position was my background with NCCR, the National Center for Construction Education Research. That is the most widely recognized curriculum. That's why we use it. It was born here in Houston. Everybody accepts it. We all got to be, beat from the same drum. And so I had a background with that. And so I ended up here at this job. And I got to tell you what, coming from a for-profit industry where it was all about money, to a nonprofit where it's all about the community and giving back and making sure that we all stay together and closely knit to do the right thing. This just feels good. And it's been a great ride here for about 5.5 years so far.
That's fantastic. So, well, first of all, an amazing story. I had not known that. So that's really cool. You're like, you remember the movie, my daughter still watches it all the time, Full House. You're the Uncle Jesse of construction, right? Like, yeah, I dig it. Yeah. So I feel like anytime you're like halfway constructing a home or building something, and then all of a sudden you just kick out into like a guitar jam, and people be like, "Man, I can't believe this guy." So,
it's also paid off. There one more thing is that my wife and I flip houses on the side.
Oh, cool.
It is something that I love to do. We have such a great time with that. The money's not too bad either, but we just that way I'm not I can't sit still for too long. I got to use my hands. I love construction. I love building things. And so that just kind of fills that gap.
That's so cool.
Wonderful. I'll tell you, construction is such a rewarding career.
That's awesome. And I was going to ask you about a fun fact, but I think you just kind of gave us probably the funnest fact about you. But is there anything else that you want to share that really resonates or say before we wrap up the show today?
No, I just, when people tell me that it's too hard, too difficult, or whatever, when I was digging ditches, you can either be at the bottom of an 8-foot ditch with a shovel and somebody yelling at you, or you can be in one of these classes and, take a much nicer, cleaner, air conditioned route. But experience at the end of the day. But when I hear people say it's too challenging, or they want the end result now when they're 17 years old or younger, it takes time. You got to build yourself. But my goodness, when you get there, it is such a rewarding career. And as you know, in the Gulf Coast region, yeah, there's so much going on, and there's so much yet to come that we need that skilled workforce for.
Amen. I mean, I think everybody's moving to Texas, and we're going to still give you credit, even though you left for California. We're still going to credit you as being Texan. We've typically been trying to ship them back, but we're going to go ahead and keep you, Michael. So that being said, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Michael, it's great spending time with you. I love your passion, your energy. Love the work that you're doing, and then again, another one of our affiliate organizations, Association of Builders and Contractors. We really, that's probably the beauty is, and I was with somebody from CCC yesterday, Angela Robbins, and she's also in that same fight that you're in, and your name came up. And the one thing that I found is all of these organizations are really working for one common goal, and that's to make the Gulf Coast of Texas the best place to be, and the best place to work with the best amount of job opportunities and the best employees to serve those opportunities. And so everyone's kind of in the boat rowing together, which is such a huge and tremendous value. And one thing that I've seen that resonates across all of the people, whether you're Chad Burke, yourself, Russell Hamley, is Jennifer Woodruff, is that there's this huge passion for what you do. You're not just in a job, you're in a position of passion and pursuing that. So again, for our audience, I want to thank you today for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you on our next episode next week. And you can follow our shows. You can go to the Houston Economic Alliance Port Region website and then subscribe. So there's a tab at the top that says events, and then around that tab, there's some stuff for media. You click down there, click subscribe to the podcast, and then you can also go through YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook to follow us. Reach out to me and my co-host Clint Aiken via Facebook if you want to know more, or you think there's a potential guest that might make sense to bring on the show. Michael, we'll see you out there in the field. I look forward to coming over there and driving a crane, man. It's going to be good times. And so, remember that it'll be the coolest story. We're like, hey, remember Michael, that last day, your last day at work when I showed up and we drove the crane and blew everything up. I was like, man, how wasn't that fun? So it'll make a nice beer story somewhere later on down the road. So, hey, I appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you soon, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Thank you.
Thank you.